you.
It's a crabs in a barrel psychology. It's a mindset.
Well,
It's
we
a
need to change it.
familiarity breeds contempt. So
We need
I'd
to
rather
change
see
it.
somebody externally succeed than
Yeah.
watch my own family
And the thing about it is
succeed.
that if I speak and I say these things, some people get upset.
Because they're haters.
And-
But I could say it.
If someone smokes weed, they're going to do it with or without dreadlocks. I think that if we all try to think about the people that we know that smoke weed, how many of them have dreadlocks? They're probably come in all shades, in all ages, in all sexes and genders and things like that. Having dreadlocks does not mean that somebody smokes weed by any means. There are people that I know with dreadlocks that don't put anything impure into their body, nothing that's smoked. If they were to, because they might do tea or something like that. Like it's just crazy how people just automatically assume that dreadlocks means something improper. You know what I mean? So we're talking about a society where marijuana is not yet legal. So that's just basically saying that somebody that is smoking weed is probably a criminal. It's the same way to say it, but you could see a white person with dreads, right? Like, would you assume that they're smoking weed? And if you do, you wouldn't assume that they're a criminal. You'll probably assume that they're a hippie. You know what I mean? It's a whole nother connotation, and so the issue is not the dreadlocks, but I'm pretty sure we'll get to the issue further on in this conversation.
I just want to say one more thing. Interrogating you based upon your appearance. Those are things that I've experienced here. Not everywhere. I'm not saying that every business or every street is that way, but there are some places that exist.
I think that as we travel, we learned that everywhere we go, we're automatically people automatically call us Rastas, the Rasta family, and through that, we've had the pleasure of being treated as such by fellow Rastas, but also from people who may not be who look down on Rastas. They treat us as inferior, and not even just people that aren't dark brown like us, but people that are brown like us that may have perms or weave or a bald head or a buzz cut, whatever you want to call those styles. They look down on us too. They consider us, maybe they think that we're lazy or we're criminals or we're drug addicts or that, all these things that are negatively stereotyped against Rastas, because many of the Rastas that I encounter through our travels are really righteous people. They have amazing diets, like they have like a high moral code and they carry themselves with justice. They're just not money hungry, so they may not dress the way society wants them to. So no, we never called ourselves Rastas, but we do appreciate the embrace, but we also know the struggle that they face in this world. But you're going to assume my inferiority because of my skin complexion. I don't know if they do it so that they can feel privileged. They want to feel like they're better than someone else, because it could be someone else that's in their community that's a lot more fair than they are, and they treat them in a superior status. You understand? So a lot of times we're looked at as inferior, and it's so easy to see it because I'm a black woman. So I've always been one of the darkest, and I've always been a woman. So you can see from the very bottom of the social hierarchy how people treat men, fair-skinned people of different ethnicities, people with more money. I've always been at the bottom. You understand? So the oppression is so clear to me. But I also noticed that the oppressor doesn't even know that they're oppressing someone else. And if they do, they're just doing it because they want privilege. They don't even want equality for all. Most people don't want equality for all. They only want to feel better than somebody else. Now, if I see you judging someone who comes into your community that has money, but if they're the ones that are abducting children or kidnapping people and murdering people, but you're sucking up to them because they got money. It's not about the criminal. It's about the cash. It's about social status. It's about privilege. You want to be considered privileged over somebody else. Until we all learn to work together and eliminate privilege so we can have true freedom and true liberty and true peace and true harmony, until that happens, while any single person that's still alive in this society wants to be considered privileged over anybody else, we're always going to all be at the bottom. You're surrendering your freedom for a sense of privilege and don't even realize that you're brainwashed.
So is there any way that we can actually avoid, prevent, or cure that? Do you have any suggestions that you can put out there that people can actually listen to and probably even practice it, that would prevent that from happening?
I was in a few leadership programs back in college, and one of the terms that kept surfacing was called intersectionality. So I could understand my issues as a black person or an indigenous person or as a woman or as, an immigrant or whatever I am, whatever someone labels me in society, if we could figure out how we all feel the same hurts and the same pains and how we can use our pain and our voices together to fight all of it. Because so many of us don't realize that we're oppressing someone else. I may be screaming black rights and this, that, and the other, but I'm oppressing a Mexican. Or I may be singing black power, and I'm oppressing my wife at home. Or I might be screaming this, that, and the other, but I'm coming somewhere else to another country and I'm trying to exploit my American privilege, my U.S. passport, my golden ticket. You know what I mean? And use that as a tool to feel superior to somebody else. Until we shed those egocentric labels and realize that we're all people, that we're all spirits, and we're all beautiful, and we're all cousins, that we're all related genetically. White, black, brown, pink, blue, Guatemalan, Nicaraguan, United Statesian, because we're all American, right? Because this is Central America, so I'm not going to just say that they're Americans and somehow people in Belize aren't Americans, because this is Central America, which is still continentally the North America, if you look at it and go back to, elementary geography. But they break us up between those labels so that we don't feel any type of solidarity. And this is dangerous talk. Solidarity is dangerous, you know what I mean? Because when they keep us divided by our labels, we're easily controlled. But we talk about unifying, that's dangerous talk. But I'm talking about unifying everybody. I'm talking about helping the oppressor understand that they're still oppressing, and how they can shed that and they can find freedom. Because privilege is not freedom. Privilege is not freedom. Don't you get bored with all that privilege? Don't you want to hug everybody? Don't you want to love everybody? Don't you want to live in peace and harmony at least 1 year of your life? Privilege isn't freedom. It gotta get lonely at the top.
That is correct. So there was a message for you guys, and I was keeping in mind that
It's moving forward. How do we figure out how to bring cultures together so they can evolve in a beautiful way together and to make beautiful harmony? Because harmony isn't made by people or everybody pressing the same key. You can't press the same key on the organ and expect to get a harmony. But what you could do is you could bring 3 notes together, or 5 or 7 or 9 or 12 notes together and come up with a beautiful harmony, a tapestry of many colors. I don't want a blue picture. Cultural relativism is awesome, but everybody doesn't need to assimilate. We don't need to be a fondue pot. We need to be a tossed salad, or a stew or something. Everything needs to have its particular component and come together and to make a beautiful stew. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to be all the same thing. We need to collide. We need to figure out how we could work together. We need to be out with the old, the things that no longer serve us. We need to sweep them away. We need to cleanse ourselves of outdated practices. We have to understand that we have to acknowledge people's spirits. I'm really interested in you sharing with us, since we are minorities here, most people that are listening cannot relate to us and where we come from. I think it's really more powerful if you tell us, and Hammer as well, tell us the things that you experience here so that Belizeans that, can relate to you. Tell us what you experience in Belize City from people that are my complexion. I've never seen that. They talk about reverse racism in the States, and we're like, oh, that can't exist because black people don't have power. But here, there are black people in power. So I'm wondering, how does that reverse racism, if I can use that term finally, how does that, feel? How do you feel? How do you feel when this happens, when you see other people oppressed by people just as brown as they are, but they're not going up there to the top, though? Nobody's oppressing the super light man.
that's correct. So going back to what you said, right, I will share a small experience that I, of course, crossed my path once. I was at Belize City, and
This way. Hello, Leva, I need to know, how does it make you feel?
What time it is?
How does it make you feel?
I mean, in reality, I think that the whole racism experience has existed in a lot, and colorism and all those things, all those isms have existed for a significant period of time all over the earth. And they're old. They are the ways of a lot of our ancestors, like we were talking about. But in reality, it's time for the former things got to pass away. It's time for that thought process to end amongst people, male, female, whatever. The division, the dualistic thought, it has to end. opportunities based upon any of those isms, colorism, racism, any of those things, capitalism, whatever it is, all of that is dead. They're the old things. They're the former things that are done. This world that we're in now is new. It's brand new, and it's way different than anything that we've ever seen before, because it's necessary for us all to be able to rely on each other to be able to survive. And the longer we take to be able to do that, the more we embrace this racism, colorism, capitalism, anything that says that this man is not worth something based upon his appearance or what it is that he has, and we don't see each other as brothers and sisters, we don't see each other as cousins and all as one. If we don't see each other as that, and we don't begin to build beliefs, and then in turn build the world based upon those blocks, the conditions around us, this nature around us, these plants and trees and herbs and flowers and sky and sun and rain, and all those things will begin to rebel against our existence. They'll rebel against our existence until we realize that we have to use each other to be able to survive. If there's no harmony between mankind, the earth is going to rebel, and we'll have a hard time. And all these things that we think are so beautiful and that we value so much in this world, they're not going to be there no more. They're not going to be there anymore. So it's necessary, and our survival is contingent on us understanding that this world that we're in right now, this new world, is a peaceful and harmonious one. It's a peaceful and harmonious one, and it requires everybody to drop those old things. It requires the police to drop the racial profiling. It requires the people to drop not allowing people into different groups and different families and different neighborhoods based upon the way that they are, their appearance. All those things have to stop.
I think racism benefits the one who does it. Like they do it for benefits.
So I've been told, like, okay, so we know it was done for supremacy, to maintain a superior status over all other people. But I was told that a lot of that's not even believed anymore. Like, they know who you are, and they know what you're capable of. So systems are put in place to keep you at the bottom and discriminating against each other. So you got the black Americans discriminating against the Belizeans, and the Belizeans, or not the Belizeans, the Creoles discriminating against the Garifuna, and them discriminating against the Hispanics and the Mayans, at the, you know, all these things. But nobody's pointing blame at the true oppressor, and not saying that they should, but the oppressor knows that once you see past the farce, once you realize that it's all a lie, and it always has been a lie, once that happens, there's fear. There's fear. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? But I think what they miss is that that by culture, even the history books will tell you, their books will tell you that we're just people. We're just people. What are you going to do when the oppression stops? Are you going to go try and go kill your oppressor? Is that a reality? How do you feel as strong, beautiful men of color? How do you feel? What do you think you're going to do when everybody realizes that it's all a lie, and that we're all brainwashed, and that you're actually more powerful than you can ever imagine? Is there anything to fear?
I think in reality, when it comes down to the racist mind, and if people have anything to fear, I think within my consciousness, or within what it is that I think is that people require peace, peace and harmony in order to exist in a better state. But sometimes you got to create a lot of chaos in order to find the right note to make things harmonious. So sometimes all this friction that's being created based upon people's brainwashing, because that's all it is. It's not even based on something real. It's just based on people's brainwashing. All this friction that's being created is just going to cause more and more problems, so eventually something combusts.
If you're
Once the illusion is gone, and we realize how amazing we really are, and we can work together, is there really anything that the oppressor has to fear?
Well, definitely. I mean, if you do retaliate, then of course the oppressor will be affected, right? I mean, they won't have the upper hand. They won't have the power to manipulate or generate this propaganda that, of course, you are lower than these people are, and they just pretty much divide you based on how you look on appearance. So, I mean, if you look at it this way, right, when it comes to crime prevention, like she mentioned, I did experience that happening to a gentleman with dark complexion, right? And when you look at it, that's pretty much put in place based on what's happening in other parts of the country, right? Because majority, 85, 90, 95% of crimes are caused by people with dark color. And if you look at it this way, how can we prevent that? How can we change people's minds when the propaganda is already set, when the profiling has already been set in place?
Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to discredit that belief that the majority of the crimes are prevented by people of color. Because if you have an institution that's committing crime prevention, then of course that they're going to profile and select a particular type of person that they want to lock away or that they want to cause to be pulled off the street to prevent crimes. So that alone, the profiling, racial profiling in its essence, it may be a way that just exists for now in this country, and it has to change. And it doesn't just exist here. It's something that exists in America. If you just do a little research, you see that even in America, the people of brown in the United States, people of black and brown colored people of African descent, whatever you want to call it, have always had to fight against this system, this oppressive system that also goes hand in hand with poverty. A lot of times people commit crimes or what they call crimes, because of the need to survive solely. So if there's one person that's sitting on the side of their mountain with millions.
Listen, this is how you should do things.
Right.
I am speaking based on experience.
And out of love.
Right? And I'm showing you, I'm having enough patience to show you that this is the way. Why would I teach you something that is wrong?
Some praying for change, some making the change, showing the way by here and today. Don't know where I'd be if I lived and I thought as you want me to be. Don't know where I'd be if I lived and I thought as you want me to be. It's time for a change, a better way to do things, create things. It's time for a change, a better way to do things, create things. Don't know where I'd be if I lived and I thought as you want me to be. Don't know where I'd be if I lived and I thought as you want me to be. It's time for a change, a better way to do things, create things. It's time for a change, a better way to do things, create